So you mentioned I want to talk a little bit more about the book, but I have to ask. You mentioned you're at home a lot of your time
Mhm.
working. Do you write full time at this point in your career?
I do, yes.
Oh, good for you. You're living the dream.
Some days, anyway.
So what is your typical schedule like? Do you maintain an everyday right from the same period of time to the same period of time, or does it have to vary depending on what you've got going on?
It's really strange. I feel like it's been very different for every book that I've written. So sorry, there's my dog again. So for example, like with my first book, I was still doing my day job at that point, and so I would just find an hour here or there, and it took me a really long time to write that first book because I just sort of took any moments I could get. And then with my second book, um, I was writing full time at that point, and I had a really strict schedule for myself that I kept every day um, through the writing process of that book. And with my third book, with something like Gravity, it was just all over the place. I don't know. I had no structure to my life whatsoever. Yeah,
But
I
obviously, it got written and it's brilliant. So whatever you did worked.
late nights fueled by coffee.
And then people don't know this who are still aspiring to be an author and go full time, or who just love books and don't write themselves. But I'm sure
Mm.
you have many activities aside from solely writing, marketing responsibilities and everything else. How much of that time is of your week is that eating up?
You know, when I left my my regular full-time job to start writing, um, I just had this totally different idea of what my days were going to look like. I thought, oh, I'll have all this time. I can just like write book after book, spend every day writing. I'll get so much done. And it is not like that at all. So yeah, I think one of the things I kind of didn't realize before I got into publishing was how important it is to have a presence online through social media, and just there's a lot of self-promotion and marketing that you have to do that, you know, I think being really naive and not knowing anything about publishing before getting into it, I guess I just had assumed, oh, like if you get your book published, your publisher just does everything, and it really doesn't work that way. It has to be more of a cooperative relationship. So yeah, so really that does take up a lot more time than probably most people would imagine.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if there were magical publishing elves that came in and worked in the workshop while you slept, and you came down and you found that there were shoes everywhere, whatever the classic fable is, that
Yes,
had done that
you
for
can just leave finished manuscripts all over. Yeah, that would be awesome.
you. One of my favorite anecdotes is Stephen King has famously said that when he was drinking and abusing drugs and also writing amazing literature, which I always like to remind people of, because I say, well, it must be the alcohol or the drugs. And no, we got plenty of junkies, we got plenty of alcoholics. They didn't all write Stephen King's books. There was something else going on there. But he says that he does not remember writing Cujo. He had it and he's like, oh, this I got this book, and he turned it in. And like, that's magic elves, dude. How did that happen?
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that story from Stephen King about how he doesn't even remember that book, and it's funny, not that I would ever condone like substance.
No, of
Um,
course, important PSA. We are in no way condoning
yeah, like
substance abuse.
I'm not.
Write amazing stuff like Stephen King. Just do it sober.
Yeah, but I think sometimes we do see great writers who are doing amazing things. And I think of some of those old, like those great American novelists who were like seriously messed up. But they were creating amazing work. And sometimes I wonder if it was, I think every person who's trying to be creative in some way has to figure out like a workaround in the brain to like sidestep all of that self-criticism and all that other junk and be able to like set it aside for a minute, or not a minute, but for significant amounts of time in order to just like get the work done. And
at least long enough to finish the first draft.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, probably for a lot of writers or creative people, like substance misuse is kind of like a really easy shortcut to like doing that mental work.
It does. On the other hand,
I
sooner or later, there's a significant decline. I was amused. I'll check.
Oh, sorry. I do a lot of meditation actually before I start writing to sort of like just clear the mind and help myself focus so I'm not thinking about like, oh, I have to do laundry and the dishes and walk the dogs and like clean the kitty litter pans and all of that stuff that's always in the back of your mind. Like, so I find that if I meditate before I write, even just for a few minutes, it really helps me just kind of get in that zone.
Makes sense. I'd like to, when possible, I like to take a nice long walk, although these days I live with a 5-year-old. So the idea of what the ideal set of writing, it just never happens. It's strictly, okay, he's sleeping now. I've got an hour. Let's do this. Or I've got a couple hours if I get up early. Whenever I can do it, let's get to it now. I just find that if I can, when I'm drafting, I just write as fast as I can and just get it out. And I don't worry that it's not good because I know I'm never going to publish anything that I haven't revised at least 25 to 30 times anyway. So that first draft, just get it on the paper and give me something that I can work with. And I find that writing fast helps me. You got to write faster than your doubt and your fears.
Yes.
Talking about substance abuse, this is something that just absolutely cracked me up here locally as an author whose name I won't say. And he told me about a neighbor of his that really wanted to get into writing, and so was coming over and talking about writing on a regular basis, and then started day drinking because he was reading a lot of Hemingway, and he's like, "This man's amazing! What wonderful writing! I want to write like that." So he starts day drinking, and my friend finally says, "You know how the Ernest Hemingway story ends, right?" And the guy had no idea. he had read the biography of Hemingway to know that the man drank, but didn't read the sad, bitter ending of Hemingway's life. Like, buddy, read the whole thing before you start drinking in the afternoon. Oh, nothing's funnier than alcoholism. Anyway, okay, moving on.